Welcome everybody to the Daily Space Weather. We're broadcasting live once again from behind the toilet paper microphone, present only in the Smash Bunker, a place we'd rather not be, but we're here anyway. And what we're doing is we're, again, streaming live to Twitch and taking a look at the sun. It's 193 angstroms. We see some coronal holes associated with an active region and the South Pole. And I'm talking about this zone right here. We don't see any sunspots, at least when I did show prep. We'll take a look at the end of the video. And we've got too much stuff to cover to spend any time monkeying around. So let's take a look at the LASCO C3. We've been having some problems with the Integrated Space Weather Analysis Center. We'll talk about that too. And leave a comment if you think you see a halo. And we see Mercury coming out from behind the LASCO C2's disk here on the left of the screen. It is hightailing it around the backside of the sun. And we do see some ejecta in these images here. Where they're headed is anybody's guess, as I don't have all the instruments available. Let's take a look at the fields on the Earth-facing portion of the disk. Here's 171 angstroms. And there you can see that active region in the south, as well as that well-defined coronal hole. A little bit of activity at high latitudes in the north also. And here's the 304 angstroms view, and we've got a great video of some plasma fountaining that went on yesterday. And check out those filaments. Very nice, very nice. I like the composite between the 171 and the 304 angstroms. Let us know what you think in the comments. Might have to use that for the thumbnail. And by the way, thanks to our new viewers, thanks to Diamond from Oppenheimer Ranch Project, we'll be making another episode of the Diamond Anvil. It'll be episode 6 coming out tomorrow. And we've re-added the related content. So we now have, we're now promoting other channels on the channel once again. And the new list includes Oppenheimer Ranch Project, Sky Scholar, hosted by Pierre-Marie Robitaille. Oppenheimer Ranch Project is hosted by David Moriello. Adapt 2030. That's David Dubine, one of our original channel mentors and collaborators, and also Tony Heller. Debugging God Tony Heller will break down the real statistics and break down the nonsense that you'll see all over the internet and the mainstream media about the reality of things like climate, pandemics, etc. Also, thanks to our new subscribers over on BitChute. Look for more exclusive content coming there. I consider making exclusive content every day, but I try to contain my rage. Let's talk about the smAsho mission. This is the reason why we need funding, folks. It's because we're attempting to assist, study, and report on the ongoing formation of a unified theory of physics. And it's because, well, I'm sick of the world the way it is, and so I'm going to be instrumental in fixing it and understanding the real science. And that's part of the reason why we study the sun, as the sun is the Rosetta Stone of all cosmology. Here's the 94 angstroms view of it. Please leave a comment if you think the sun has a gender, as I think it has properties of both genders, although I'm not so sure it includes properties of being sherbet gendered, as I am. Anyway, there's the 48-hour view in 94 angstroms, and you can see that active region, as well as the setting active region there, sunspot, former sunspot 2760. So you've got some good home movies you can make if you want to go do some solar sightseeing. Next, back to some more data here. Looking at the KP index has come down from 3 back down to 2, and we see a very weak solar wind last I checked. We'll get to it in a minute. First, we're going to look at this plasma fountaining that happened. Now, this is from a backyard telescope in Gfs France, operated by Sylvain Chabelon. And check this out. This is epic. I guess it doesn't like to be full screen, so you're going to have to deal with that size. Look at the plasma fountaining. Just fantastic. Play that again for you. Wow. Talk about detail. Somebody's got a sweet backyard telescope and solar filter. How about 1/3 time? It's all located on spaceweather.com. Geez, that is fantastic. And we're looking at the 10.7 centimeter radio flux here, which is currently at 69. Here's where planets are in the solar system, and hey, happy full moon. It looks like a full moon right now. Today or tomorrow, I guess. Looks like tomorrow. There's where things will be in a week, on May 13th. Here's where stuff is above my head right now, and we're coming at you a little early today as we decided to open the possibility of creating more content before I have to go do certain things to bust entropy. Anyway, there's where stuff is. And by the way, we are going to look at the transients from Cygnus X3, aka Deneb, momentarily during our cosmology segment. So let's take a look at some articles here. The first one is about blazars. So blazars are an interesting phenomenon, let's just say. And, oh, I'm sorry, the first one's about pulsars. So let's first talk about pulsars. Pulsar 3A0726-260 has had some strong X-ray emissions. And looking at the possibility that the jets coming out of this object could be changing shape, becoming more fanned out, as well as more direct, more straight. That could have something to do with it. And we're not exactly sure how it is that the blazar jets do this, or pulsar jets do this, really. The change in pulse profile from a single peak to a weak double-peaked structure may be explained by intrinsic change occurring in the beaming pattern from a pencil beam to a fan beam, which results in the beam to move out of our line of sight. The change in pulse profile can also be attributed to a transition in accretion pattern from a smooth accretion stream at low energies to several narrow accretion streams at high energies that are phase-locked with the massive radio source referred to in the article as a neutron star. So that's always interesting, as we are always interested in understanding the way that these things emit. So if you want to read about Pulsar 3A0726-260, another catchy name, head to phys.org and go to the Astronomy and Space section. Next, we'll talk about blazars. And the reason we have this animation up here is because perspective is everything. If you're looking down those jet beams, you could call them Z-field jets. The sun has jets like this. Every massive radio source in the universe seems to have jets like this. And again, it's interesting to study these beams as they appear to come out in a pulsed manner. And they're certainly coming in a pulsed manner coming out of blazar 2WHSPJ073326.17 plus 515354. Another really catchy name. I don't know why they don't just name these things. Let's see here. What is this one all about? So blazars are categorized in two different ways. Flat radio spectrum quasars and BL Lacertae objects. And it all has to do with whether or not they feature broad emission lines or flat emission lines, whether they're just emitting in a certain specific series of frequencies, or if they have a broad emission line spectra. So we're talking about synchrotron radiation, which is super important when it comes to studying these jets. And for all of you out there interested in synchrotron radiation, you should probably realize that we can't create that in a lab without condensed matter. In other words, electrons don't make very, very fast turns and emit that level of electromagnetic radiation for their health. They have to be orbiting a massive magnet in order to do that. And that's certainly what's going on at 2WHSP J073326.7 plus 515354. Also known as PGC 2402248, in case you didn't like that first name. That other catchy name is a little bit shorter. Oh, man. Anyway, they performed the first optical characterization of it using optical spectroscopic observations with INT and GTC telescopes. I have no idea what that means. But if you want to read this article, also check it out. It's at phys.org's Astronomy and Space section. And let's look at some X-ray transient emissions. How about the ones from Sagittarius A star? There they are. We like to view the Neil Gorell Swift Bat Observatory on the regs, as many of these objects are on the list. We're only going to look at 2 of them today. The other one is possibly the only known cosmic ray point source. Oops, not C3. Cygnus X3, otherwise known as Celestial Pole Star Deneb, the pole star at the other end of the precessional cycle. Are you familiar with this? Part of the summer triangle, and the most intrinsically luminous object visible from Earth in the entire galaxy. It's a massive X-ray binary where we have a massive radio source orbiting a giant, very, very hot, very energetic star known as a Wolf-Rayet star. And there are the outbursts from it. It has just recently returned to its normal active state, coming out of a quiescent state just recently down here. And here's its more normal baseline state at around 0.04. And again, we're looking at X-rays here in the 15 to 50 kiloelectron volt range. Cygnus X3, learn about it. Go to smashomash.com/forum if you don't know about it. And we see a little bit of X-ray flux happening, undoubtedly coming out of that, what do you call it? That active region there south of the solar equator. Nothing even resembling a B-class flare, however. And let's look at some more data here. Here's the GOES Proton Flux, which needs a refresh, I think. And nothing surprising there. We don't really see any coronal mass ejections or coronal hole wind streams. In fact, we usually don't even see an increase in the proton flux during coronal hole wind streams, at least not that measurement of it. It will show up in the real-time solar wind, though, and I noticed when I went to spaceweather.com, it was showing 0 protons per cubic centimeter. 0. Zero protons per cubic centimeter squared. So we see an incredibly diffuse solar wind right now. We see the phi angle creeping up from a coronal hole magnetic connection likely there, and moving up into the 330 range. BTBZ has just gone from south into north territory. So in the past several hours, it went from -6 to +3 in terms of the BZ, while the BT has remained fairly consistent over that same period. And I think there's a coronal mass ejection brewing, folks, just looking at the data without being able to see the integrated space weather analysis site. We'll see if we can bring it up during the live stream here. And check out the solar wind density, 0.27 protons per cubic centimeter, solar wind speed 285 kilometers a second. So those electrons are coming, folks. They are out there, and they're going to be here soon. You want to talk about a weak magnetosphere? Check it out. We've got high velocity solar winds. We've got an extremely puffed out magnetosphere, and we've got very low pressure. Now we've shown it quite a bit lower than this too, but here's the velocity. We'll show you all 3 panes today. And again, this video might be a little bit on the extended side here, as there are a ton of things to cover. So there's the velocity, and you can see it's all over the place with that incredibly diffuse and slow solar wind. And here you're going to see the magnetosphere puff out, and that's low density stuff, folks. So space is getting closer to your doorstep right now. I don't know if you're aware. Here's the density, and again, I would note that you're viewing white is low density. Blue is high density on this image. And let's let that run through again. As you can see, the solar wind dropped right off of a cliff down there at the end of the video. So some perfect data acquisition here. And thank goodness for Twitch. Twitch.tv/smAsho if you want to see these videos live. Well, here they are. Most viewers don't view live. I would suggest subscribing to the channel. Get notifications, because when things happen, we stream them live to Twitch because the platform is so good. So look at the puff out of the magnetosphere there and the last bit. That is some extremely low density solar wind. And here you'll see this fall right off a cliff too. At the beginning, most of the magnetohydrodynamic pressure is in the magnetotail. And for you new viewers out there, the sun is off in this direction. So this one is as if you're looking down on the pole. And this one is the equatorial plane as if you're shifted 90 degrees. I'll let that play through a second time as the magnetosphere is very weak. And watch the KP index drop down to 0 promptly throughout the day today. And it keeps refreshing. I don't know why it keeps doing that, but it's very annoying. I'm just going to advance it manually. Here's the last few bits. And you can see that pressure dropping down to about as low as we've ever seen it. Next, we'll look at the ground geospace magnetic perturbations. And these are not going to be induction-caused perturbations this time, folks. These are caused by pure magnetism. So, first of all, we've got a North Pole over northern Canada. We've got a second North Pole over Siberia, and we see the primary perturbations here are over the Canadian North Pole. The South Pole has left Antarctica and is in the southern Indian Ocean, southwest of Australia. And we're going to let that play through a second time, as there's a magnetic pulse happening as we make the video. And you can see there's a sort of a global scale small grade magnetic pulse coming out right at the end of this. You'll see it kind of emanate out of the, it looks like it comes out of the South Central Pacific. No, it looks like it comes out of the area south of Hawaii. So that pulse looked like it came out of around this area. And we do see regular ionospheric anomalies in that region too. We'll check if we see them today after we look at the GOES magnetometer. There's the data from that, and it's still all over the place, spiky. And again, I think there is a coronal mass ejection headed our way. And again, having problems with the integrated space weather analysis data. Let's see if the space weather beacon shows up at stereo A. And we got 0 data. So we tried to bring up that. We tried to bring up the Core 2 gallery, which shows us nothing. Tried to bring up the difference, which shows us nothing. So, best guess is that there is a coronal mass ejection, probably kicking off right now, so keep an eye on that throughout the day. And when I say ion, the pun is intentional. It's probably not a big one, and I have a feeling that this plasma right here, which we can tell the plasma is there because plasma obscures the magnetic fields, may have already released. So keep an eye on the LASCO C2 and C3 and that space weather, integrated space weather analysis center throughout the day today, folks, because perhaps the data will return. Until then, I can't see it. I'm not going to keep looking. One thing that's of note here is that we see the North Pole field shown in green coming through, an indication there's probably some activity south of the solar equator out near stereo A. Line of sight field plot has nothing interesting to comment on. Relativistic electrons are still very low, shockingly low. And you can see the total electron content forecast here showing very, very low levels of electron flux. And these very low levels of electron flux always end with high levels of electron flux. So they're out there, folks, and they usually come just after the solar wind goes off a cliff. So here we have the GOES electron flux, and you can see it's been cratered for a solid week here. And eventually you're going to see that electron storm, and you're going to see massive GPS errors and possibly some satellite charge-ups. So here's the ionosphere. And I just want to see if we see any anomalies here in the South Pacific, south of Hawaii. Part of that is the snapback from the South Atlantic anomaly, if that makes sense. Yeah, the nighttime side is still looking pretty anomalous here, folks. It's very wobbly. It's kind of all over the place. And here's the latest image coming at 7:30. And you see big time autumn nighttime charge downs shown there in red as you get an F layer instead of an F2 layer. Let's talk about how hot the planet is. Apparently the planet's so hot that it's cold. And let's head to windy.com to see how melted Greenland is. Now, if you watched our videos regularly in times like last summer, you probably would have seen this. And while we actually do see some significant melting areas in places like this, where there's a surprisingly low amount of snow, the overall scenario, folks, and I guess I got to keep going over this, is that there's more than 5 meters of snow. There's only 167 inches there, practically from coast to coast. So when the articles come out, because there's hot air being injected due to meridional jet stream flow into places like southwestern Greenland, perhaps check out windy.com, as snow depth is one of the features. And let's get back to what we usually cover, which is pressure. So here are the pressure maps. I'm going to let this advance as we normally do. And this is the Gfs Forecast. Windy.com's got a great free mobile app too, by the way, folks. I'm not paid to say that. I'm a custie, which means I'm the product because it's free. You know how that works, right? Anyway, there's where we expect things to be at 1 p.m. tomorrow. And look at the anticyclonic insanity over all of Canada. Complete anticyclonic insanity. Look at all this clockwise rotation. Extreme high pressure zones everywhere. Yowzers. That is some extreme anticyclonic behavior. We'll look at it on the jet stream toward the end of the video. And I would like control of my computer back, Windy, if that's okay. Thank you very much. Let's talk about climate. Well, actually, let's don't talk about climate. Let's let Tony Heller talk about climate. If you haven't been to realclimatescience.com, well, check it out. It's got links to all of his YouTube videos. It's got links to articles. So check it out as he breaks down all kinds of real information and debunks all kinds of nonsense on his YouTube channel, which is why we not only subscribe and watch his content, but recommend that our viewers do too. Debugging God Tony Heller. And let's talk about snow mass balance. Now, we've had 3 years in a row with 2 standard deviations above the normal Northern Hemisphere snow mass balance. The 2017 to 2018, 2018 to 2019, and 2019 to 2020 years all had similar graphs like this. And if you're looking at that dotted line in the center, that is a 30-year 1982 to 2012 average. Apparently, the planet's so hot that it's cold. Please leave a comment if you know the first thing about geology, such as how planets glaciate. Never mind, I'll just explain. The way planets glaciate is when it snows and the snow doesn't melt. Now, we haven't had a year without a summer yet, but a couple small volcanic stratospheric level injections could make all the difference, as there are tons of volcanoes going off. The planet so hot that it's cold, as the mainstream media lies to you and governments strive for more control. Let's talk about another factor, an incredible article about how bacterial behavior influences cloud formation. That's right, clouds nucleate on a gas called DMSP for short, which is dimethylsulfonylpropionate. So if you weren't aware, yeah, that's right, bacteria make the planet colder through the albedo effect. If you're wondering what it is, you know that smell of the ocean? Well, that's what DMSP is. And it's yet another factor in, what's that? Global cooling. Yes, it makes the planet cooler because when clouds form on these gases, they reflect sunlight back into space, which makes for cooler, it makes for lower highs and higher nighttime lows. which is exactly what we see on the planet, by the way. It's also a factor of cosmic ray flux and of gases like carbonyl sulfide and of things like volcanic ash in the atmosphere and so on. Great article on phys.org. It is in the Earth section, which you may have trouble getting through without seeing a bunch of sharticles, but this article here about how bacterial behavior influences cloud formation is probably kind of important to understand, like the sulfur cycle, which, by the way, it's part of. Let's move on to earthquakes. And yesterday we saw a deep one at Tonga, around when we made the video, actually. It was a 4.9 magnitude at 281 kilometers depth. Here's a deep quake at Afghanistan at 103 kilometers depth. Here's a deep quake at El Salvador at 203 kilometers depth. Here's a deep quake at Argentina at 128 kilometers depth. So deep quake event big time. Largest quake of the past 24. Just came in quite recently, actually. We'll get to it. It was a 5.2 at Chile. I believe that was the largest. Oh, no, there's a 5.5 at Tonga. Check it out. That one was at the surface. My bad. But that 5.2 came in right as we did show prep. Western South America. It's still shaking. Let's take a quick look at the location of that one. At La Serena, Chile. Just out in the ocean. It must be the La Serena Bay. Shout out to Serena, if you're watching the videos. I'm sure you're not, because you think I'm a, quote, conservative, end quote, which is cute. All right, so, looking at volcanoes for today, May 6th, from behind the toilet paper microphone. The only microphone made of toilet paper. And I'm going to do my touching my face section while I do the volcano rundown. And we see explosive activity at Kamchatka, at the Kluchevskoye volcano. Have you been touching your face, folks? Have you been driving around itching? Afraid to touch your face? Scared that another driver will see you touch your face? Are you afraid to cough during a YouTube video? Are you afraid that the governor of your state is doing completely unconstitutional things and needs to be removed from power through a recall election? Turns out Mount Aso is also erupting, producing a 7,000-foot ash plume. Halmahera has produced a white plume and 10 earthquakes. So, Gamalama. Gamalama. I can't believe that. It's actually called Gamalama. That is unbelievable. I have to click on it. Check it out. There it is. A white plume from Gamalama came yesterday. New one on the list. Rincon de la Vieja, now back on the list also. 7,000-foot plume there as it explodes. Revenador exploding, 16,000-foot plume there. And while no volcanic ash is detected from Nevados de Chilean, please do not attempt to pole vault the caldera. And we've moved on to the Covidiotic Covidiacy. Government of Covidiots, by Covidiots, for Covidiots, where we talk about whatever we want. Now, are you horrified that all kinds of businesses have shut down because the government told them to? Well, I certainly am. Are you horrified at what businesses are instituting as totally ineffective and ridiculous rules that make you want to quit your job and sue your employer and the government? Well, I certainly am. A government shutdown. The government is the only non-essential business. The most overpaid and incompetent people are your elected officials. So, whatever you do, please try not to be a Covidiot. Please leave a comment if you think the word Covidiots will be the word of the year. Now, to dispel some of your Covidiocy, one of the things you can do is you can go out in the sun, which will cause this to go in about 5 minutes. Thanks, son. So yeah, don't be a Covidiot. One of the things you can do when you're locked down because of human-imposed nonsense that's completely ineffective at preventing the spread or the transmission or people's deaths or the total numbers at the end of the day. We've made a whole section at smashamash.com/forum about Covidiots Hashtag COVIDiots, the word of the year. Fisher-Price, my first pandemic. So there's a COVIDiot, Governor Tom Wolf, and I'm considering a lawsuit against the governor. I think it's probably going to happen. So leave us a comment if you're an attorney who would like to sue the state of Pennsylvania. I certainly want to sue the state of Pennsylvania. And let's get to the latest posts. The latest posts on the COVIDiots section of forums. Scientist whose doomsday models, Professor Neil Ferguson, sparked global lockdown, resigns after breaking quarantine to bang married lover. Well done. Well done. Now that is COVIDiocy. How about a federal court that rules that strip clubs are entitled to pandemic loans? Okay. Hey, thanks, government. How about if you do less? How about if you evaporate entirely? Dear government, you're not essential. We decide what's essential, and you work for us, not vice versa. Deal with it, or you're going to deal with something much, much worse. Let's look at markets. I'm going to not display CNBC's page and talk about crypto. Now, while I'm not a believer in crypto, except as a speculative investment, Bitcoin's up 69 bucks as we speak. And, well, I guess I better show you the one-year chart. There's the one-year chart of Bitcoin. It has bounced back from its lows, and it's looking fairly correlative with the stock market, which makes sense because, again, it is a speculative investment, not a real holder of value. Yes, there's no value in the blockchain, folks. I don't really care what anybody says. Here's Ethereum, which is actually kind of like the silver of cryptocurrency, I would say. I'm also going to look at some other things here, namely gold. Here's the price of gold, experiencing some resistance around $1,700 an ounce. Here is the price of silver. If this freaking page ever loads, thank you very much. There's the price of silver, showing some resistance there around 15 bucks an ounce, currently at 15.34. And one other thing to look at here is, pardon my scrolling. So Asia markets are down, at least the Nikkei is. The Hang Seng is up. European markets are down mildly. And let's move on. Other things you can do when you're locked down, because the government told you to be locked down, or because you quit your job because you're sick of your employer's nonsensical, ridiculous, idiotic, stupid, half-witted ideas. Maybe you'll learn about gaming. Oh, I don't know. What about some gaming? Maybe you want to do some gaming. Head to smashamash.com/forum, and in the free-for-all forum, there's a section called Nabs. What are Nabs? Well, they're noobs. But we elite gamers, we like to say Nabs sometimes. And we've put links here, right? You want to see a selection of Nabs and pros? Install Wolfenstein Enemy Territory. Download it there. There's the link. Play on this server. That's where I almost always play. You don't need a fast computer, and it's only about a 260 megabyte download, if I remember correctly. And the link that we've left takes you to splash damage. First, let's talk about the Death Dealers. Shout out to the Death Dealers, one of the top public gaming clans in the world. And let's see. Shout out to Swix and Styles and Otzi and Creepox and Winters and Kizzo and to Mayan. We're going to try to get Mayan to do an interview about Enemy Territory. And again, if you want to download it, head to the splash damage page. And you can see here's some screenshots. There's what the game, there's what it looks like in game. As a you have to play Germans versus Americans. They're all objective maps. It's not just death matches. There are no deathmatch modes in enemy territory. They're all objective missions, 5 different character classes. And again, it's completely free, open source, so check it out. It's good stuff. I think it's the best game ever. And let's talk about bad movies. Another thing you can do while you are on lockdown. So, now we watched a bad movie last night. It's called Hard Ticket to Hawaii from 1987. And if you can stand a bunch of gratuitous toplessness, or if you prefer a bunch of gratuitous toplessness, hey, you can even watch this one on YouTube. All you got to do is deal with these 3 little overlays here. No big deal. The resolution's terrible, but you get the point. And geez, it's quite the flick. Let's see if I can play a small tidbit here without accidentally showing boobs. There we go. There's a perfect still frame for you. This movie's totally ridiculous. Shout out to Good Bad Bad Bad, Brian and Kyle. Well done, guys. Love the channel. Hard Ticket to Hawaii, 1987. If you want to watch it, it's free on YouTube. I think it's $4 on Amazon Prime. So I don't know what to tell you about that, but watch it. It's another bad one. Also, we recommend American Hunter and Kill Point, both available on YouTube if you like terrible movies, which are so bad that they're good. Here's some clips from Hard Ticket to Hawaii. Here's the infamous razor blade frisbee death.
All right, this is one of the worst kills ever in a movie in Hard Ticket to Hawaii.
This is on our Instagram page.
From 1987.
Instagram.com/smAsho.
Frisbee razor blade to the throat kill.
Check it out. Frisbee razor blade to the throat.
Are you kidding me?
And then here's another one. Check out this covidiot.
And here's another clip from Hard Ticket to Hawaii. From 1987, this woman, she's going to take toilet paper, she's going to cough on it, and then she's going to rub that toilet paper instantly all over her body. Go!
Anyway, you got to view the Instagram page to see that. Subscribe over there, follow us. Were you aware that Zero Hedge has been banned from Twitter? Well, we haven't been banned from Twitter yet. We're still there. And we put some exclusive content up there. We've actually been tweeting a little bit here, so join us over there. Don't forget to follow people like Ben Shapiro, Dave Rubin, and I don't know, Tony Hawk, Tom Green. Let's talk about our coronavirus section. As YouTube's chief product officer, this guy here has referred to YouTube content creators as basement-dwelling idiots. A quote, as opposed to, it's somebody espousing their opinions about a mask, in their basement. This is coming from an authoritative channel, a news source, a medical professional, and if that's the case, we think there's going to be some context that's provided around the question of masks, which are not effective. And even if that guidance changes, it will be reflected in sort of how an authoritative voice or channel talks about it. Now, I don't think the virus is fake, folks. I think the fear about the virus is induced unnecessarily because not scary. Researcher on cusp of COVID-19 breakthrough. Bing Liu killed in a bizarre murder, suicide unexpectedly by one of his colleagues, apparently. He was shot multiple times in the head, neck, and torso, and his colleague was found 100 yards away in his car with a single gunshot wound to the head, apparently self-inflicted. No idea what that was all about, but everybody seems to have liked him. Nobody has anything bad to say about him. And we've got some meat shortages that are being caused as a result of failed to process. It's not because there's a real meat shortage, it's because of things like lockdowns, and it's causing meat to be thrown away, animals to be killed and buried instead of heading to your plate, or to your Wendy's in this case, as nearly 20% of U.S. Wendy's stores are nearly out of beef. So 18% of its national footprint have listed beef items as out of stock. Probably part of the reason why they're serving breakfast at Wendy's now, because the sausage patties on those breakfast sandwiches are not made of beef. And don't let this cause you to be extra COVIDiotic and panicked, folks, because guess what? There really is no actual supply chain shortage. It's just because of man-induced BS. The government. Let's talk about other things you can do while you're in lockdown. You could go follow Mr. Keebler's channel. Hashtag Keebs Tunes, and listen to things like his Linda Ronstadt ukulele cover. So go over there and give him a subscribe. And he's got all kinds of interesting tunes over there. Shout out to Mr. Keebler. Thanks for the link yesterday. And you could always check out Oppenheimer Ranch Project. His latest video is, and it's just gone up, it's about coronavirus pandemic. And he's covered a story. He's going to cover a story probably in more depth than I just did. Shout out to Diamond. And I like what he's saying about the murder hornets, too. I got to watch those videos as I've been falling behind. So also check out 3canyons.org, the Oppenheimer Ranch Project website. And by the way, for all you new viewers out there, or for you old viewers out there, I have been practicing the principles of permaculture for ages. I just never knew it was called permaculture. So in any case, we're looking to put up some more videos about this sort of stuff, about gardening in the backyard. In fact, we're even considering flying Diamond into Pennsylvania to give him a little vacation perhaps and let him help us out in the planting, as we've got a whole bunch of things and a whole bunch of very valuable planting property at our disposal that we're not using to its full potential. So, word of the day is quintessence, the fifth and highest element in ancient and medieval philosophy that permeates all nature and is the substance composing celestial bodies. It's also the essence of a thing in its purest and most concentrated form, which is why we make these videos. It's the most typical example or representative. So anyway, long ago, people believed that stars and planets were made up of yet another element. In addition to earth, air, fire, and water, they thought quintessence, quinta essentia, was the fifth element. So if you ever heard the term fifth element, that's actually what it's referring to. Quintessentia. So all I can say is it's the noun form of quintessential. Thanks, viewers, for your
quintessence.
Next, we're looking at nullschool.net. And I've pressed wrong buttons and yeah. Pardon my switching. Here are the jet streams of the Western world. It looks like it's going to be a cold day in the Central Pacific. Jet streams of the Eastern world. Next, we're going to look at water vapor maps for Europe and Africa. There's your water maps for 5/6/2020. Or you could say 6 May 2020. I don't care. Date formats are a pain. Here are the water vapor maps of the Far East and Oceania. And shout out to our viewers from UNDA as well as from the Far East. Please leave a comment if you're from the Far East. I don't think we have any viewers. Leave a comment if you're from Japan, Indonesia, Tokyo, Hong Kong, China, North Korea, South Korea. Probably not viewing from North Korea, though. Please leave a comment if you're viewing from North Korea. Next, looking at lightningmaps.org to give a shout out to North Carolina. Hey, Mount Olive. There's thunder rolling in. Next time you hear thunder, check out lightningmaps.org. Freak out your friends, freak out your foes by forecasting thunder with lightningmaps.org. Next, looking at the U.S. Doppler radar map here on Weather Underground. It's going to rain on me today, and I'm not pleased about that. I'm not pleased about very much. Here's the water vapor map for the U.S., and we're going to zoom in on Louisiana for once. Please leave a comment if you've noted that Louisiana turns to mud as soon as the humidity gets above 60%. So looks like some sudden evaporation happening there, sudden cloud nucleation probably happening there. Let's have a look. So we're going to bring up the shortwave infrared radiation map here for once, and we're going to get a full res image of what's going on down there. This is how we see clouds at nighttime, folks. In the daytime we use a visible satellite, at nighttime we use the shortwave radar, the shortwave, not radar, the shortwave infrared radiation satellite. And there you can see that sudden cloud nucleation happening. And let's move on to thank the SMASH team, as it's about time to call this thing a day. We've got a couple extra tabs to show you. Please leave a comment, press like if you enjoy the content. Please share on your social media, as we are in a massive growth stage on the channel right now. Look for all kinds of new varied content coming out. Check out our playlists. We've got a lot of the content organized now into playlists. So if there's a section that you want to see all the videos for, such as the cosmology segments or the Diamond Anvil Too Hard to Smash segments, go check those out. They're in playlists as well as the Daily Space Weather. Also, thanks to Diamond for coming up with the brilliant idea of the Diamond Anvil. While I did the branding and did the titling, it was Diamond's idea to do a twice a week, 1 hour show for you folks, the viewers. Have you seen the latest episode? It's episode 5. Episode 6 will be shot tomorrow. It should be up on the internet by about 3 or 4 p.m. Thanks to our subscribe stars and to our patrons, the real source of funding for the content. And again, we haven't forgotten about doing the credit crawl. It's just that due to priorities, patrons, sometimes this stuff takes a long time to institute. So expect to be on the credit crawl. You'll be referred to as assistant producers if you're on the intro tier, or associate producers if you're on the gold tier. Thanks again for your continued support. Please tell your friends and your foes, as there is lots of information for everybody. We're trying to zoom in here on this active region in the south to see if it's turned into a sunspot, and indeed it hasn't. We don't see any dark ombre. I believe there's the feature right there, I think. Next we'll look at the colorized magnetogram. There's the refresh. So again, no sunspots going on right now. A little bit of activity up in the north, a little bit of activity down in the south, and those are both cycle 25 behaviors there, folks, based on the polarity and the latitude. And let's bring up one more view here. How about what the heck am I doing? I've changed the size, and behold the dangers of the live stream. So here's the 48-hour view here at 131 angstroms. Another one of the iron emission spectra, ionized iron. Again, thanks everybody for tuning in. Remember, stare at the sun, don't drink. If you do drink, don't drive, and since it'll never be now again, may the solar wind be at your back. And may the atherosclerosis be absent from your arteries.